Thank you, Piotr. I don't have a presentation on the screen, so you have to just to do it with my face only. So I will also try to keep on holding on the 10 minutes, which is time which I have to speak about it. Within this work group on the value of volunteering, I want to stress, because my story will be more the story about statistics and economical value, but it doesn't mean that we as a European Volunteer Center, we are of course also very, we are taking also a lot of focus, and of course we take a lot of attention on the social value of volunteering, so we should not forget this. My story is a bit limited today, but I can assure you that we are loving the volunteering too much. First of all, I want to thank the European Commission for the fact that I have the possibility to speak here now, but also for the organizing of the fourth thematical conference. I don't like to speak too much about ending conference, because it's, I think we all are committed within the European year 2011 Alliance to have to ensure that we will have a lasting legacy also from this year. So I think this is important also. And of course I have to thank also the Alliance for the cooperation and the collaboration within a full year and even before. And as Piotr said, we will for sure meet each other also after 2011. Why do we want to measure the volunteering, and why are we saying in the PAVE document, for example, that there is a part in PAVE which we say, okay, we want the implementation of the ILO manual to measure the volunteering. Why do we want to measure the volunteering? For several reasons. First of all, we think that volunteering is a crucial renewable resource for social, economical and environmental problem solving in Europe. That's one thing. Another thing is that even though we are all convinced, and for sure in these conferences and in every initiative which we set up during the European Year of Volunteering 2011, in our own sector, of course, we are convinced about the value and the added value of volunteering, but we see on a policy level that volunteering is sometimes still marginalized, that also the policy is not always coherent, and there is a lot of fragmentation, and it's dispersed. Another reason is also that we see that there is a general lack of good material, good comparable statistics and material on volunteering, and this leads every conference I went to this discussion about, oh, this country is higher on the scale in the volunteering than another country, and then the people which are more on the down scale of the size or the amounts of volunteers, then they say, yeah, but it's how we measure it and how we define it. And actually this is true. Every European Union country has a different way of defining volunteering, and if you define it different, you count different, and this makes it all very troubled and a bit difficult to understand what is volunteering about. I think also, and we think also, that it's important to have this data, and a solid database is needed to ensure a good policy making. And then I can refer to the English saying that what is not counted doesn't count. And this is something which we have to be aware also in the volunteer sector, that when we are not showing ourselves with the right numbers and with the right figures, it's very difficult to convince the policymakers to take a lot of care for the volunteers. And I'm happy also with all the messages which I heard yesterday and today, that there is a commitment also on the European Commission level to make sure that there will be a legacy for this European Year of Volunteering, and we can only be happy for that. So there are a lot of things which are important, I think, to why we should measure the volunteering. And we know, of course, and we also had these tough discussions with our own European Volunteer Center. You can say, yeah, but if you are going to statistics and you're going to you are to count how many volunteers there are in every country and what they are doing and how much work they do and whatever, then you get just an economical approach to volunteering. And this, of course, you can say this may be a worry, but on the other hand, I think also it's not our idea just to reach or to look at it from an economical point of view, but on the other hand, you can say that it's proved already that the volunteers are contributing a lot to the economies in every national member state of the European Union and abroad, of course, also. And they're, according to the figures, some they say it's between 0.5% until 5% of GDP contributions of the volunteers. Some they say it's between 0.9 until 9%. We don't know it exactly, and this shows again that it's important to gather good statistics and good figures. I think that we can also avoid the danger to just to go to this economical view on volunteering by just keep on repeating the basic principles which we have for the volunteering, and that's volunteering is and should never be a substitute for paid work. We also have to be aware for the fact that volunteering can solve a lot and can contribute a lot to society, but cannot tackle all the problems which... I didn't do anything special then. I think it's somewhere in the back, but it's already solved. Not solved. I mean, I don't know what I did, but yes, I think so. It's yeah. What I wanted to say is the volunteer sector can solve a lot of problems, but should not or cannot be expected to solve all the problems which cannot be solved by policy or which cannot be solved by business sector or corporate sector and whatever. And that's also why we sit, or why we made also a paper about the volunteering in times of financial and economical crisis, because to make sure also that volunteering doesn't have to solve, and we know that there is a lot of debate within certain European countries about the tension between paid work and unpaid work. And we want to say, okay, this is, we can reiterate that volunteering just has these added values. We think also that volunteering should be valued for its intrinsic value, and everybody knows this, why people does like to volunteer, because they get something out of it, they get a feel good. And I was very happy to join the group on the quality of volunteering this morning, because this was also very much expressed there. We also have to be aware for the situations, and it's also a discussion which is ongoing and will be not silenced immediately or in the coming years. I think it's a whole discussion about the coerced volunteering, the compulsory volunteering, the guided volunteering that people makes to volunteer even if they don't like. And that's why I think that the idea also which was put forward by the European Youth Forum about the rights-based approach, it's also something very good, I think. And then, last but not least, and this is something which we said already, which we are saying already a lot of years from the European Volunteer Center, is although the volunteers, they give their time and their energy free, volunteering is not cost-free, and we should be aware of this. It's not because volunteers engage that we just have to applaud for them and not do anything. We have to support, we have to invest money in it to ensure that volunteering can go good. What are we trying now also is that we are trying to push the EVMP project, and the EVMP project is a European Volunteering Measurement Project. And this is a project which is a cooperation between the Johns Hopkins University, who already did a lot of work to develop and to work on the ILO manual, together with our Italian member organization SPES from Italy, Lorenzo is sitting there, and the European Volunteer Center. And we decided as European Volunteer Center to join into this EVMP project, because I think it's very important that we are really working now to ensure that that there will be a legacy, and that we can start, why not also knowing that the volunteers are such a big force in society, to ensure also that we can bring with accurate figures, comparable figures, and methodology which is a scientific methodology, to assure also that the figures and that the volunteers are counted in a serious way. So the ILO manual already offers at this moment the first official permanent system for the collection of data on volunteering. And what we want to do is actually to convince the national member states, but also the European Union, to implement this ILO manual so that we can gather a lot of data on volunteering. The idea is also in the EVMP project, it's also not just to say, okay, what's the position of volunteering beside of or next to other economical activities, but also that we can develop with additional methods and additional questions to ensure that we get a better sight and a better view on volunteering. What's the motivation of volunteers? How many hours they are engaged in volunteering, in which different kind of activities, and so on and so on. Because there are some researches and there are some data, but we always bump into the problem that it's not comparable, and that we are talking about, one is talking about the apples and the other is talking about the pears or the olives and the lemons. I mean, so this is something. So we are happy now also to see that there are already some countries which are starting to apply the ILO manual, and I'm very happy also to hear the Polish speakers later on, because Poland and Hungary, it's the countries which had during this European Year of Volunteering 2011 the presidency of the EU. They are implementing, or they started to implement the ILO manual to ensure also that volunteering will be counted in a serious way. So what we know also, what is the findings? I want to give it because it's something, I know it's also something this morning Camilla referred to her former director Marcus Held, and I don't know, a lot of people of you, they know Marcus, but he always talked about volunteer land. And some people, they can even not hear anymore the term volunteer or the concept volunteer land. But actually, if you look at it as, if you look at all these people which are engaged, then it's also important, because it comes also out of the studies of the Johns Hopkins University. They studied 37 countries, and they said it's approximately 140 million people engaged in these 37 countries, and this would be the 80th largest country in the world. And this, you can say, okay, this is funny or whatever, but to look at the force to make policy and whatever, it's important that we can show these figures, and that we can can convince also policymakers that volunteering is important and it's a strong force. So just don't ignore us anymore and invest in us. It's also, when you look what all the activities which our volunteers are doing, and I said before, we don't want to compete with the paid work. It's not about pushing away paid labor, because we would be crazy if we would think like this. But if you look at all the work what is done by volunteers, then we come for these 37 countries about the equivalent of 20.8 million full-time equivalent jobs. So this is a huge amount, and I don't have to convince you that when you would pull away a lot of volunteers in their activities which they are performing now, our society would be looking very much poorer. There would not be that much solidarity, not that much care for people in poverty or with a handicap, or people which are excluded out of society. So volunteers are needed, yes indeed. And then also they contribute to the equivalent for these 37 countries, so to the equivalent of 300 million euro to the global economy. This, of course, there are some countries which are in European Union, countries which are in, some countries are not in, but I think this is something that makes it worthwhile for the European Union and for all the member states of the European Union to invest also in this EVMP project, but also to apply the ILO manual into the national statistics, so we can not only love the volunteers, but we can also count them very clear, and to make sure that according to accurate data, we can ensure also good policy making, a transparent policy making, which is coherent and which is everlasting, and which also can contribute to the 2020 strategy of the European Union. So I think we have all the advantages. Of course, there are some things and discussions and maybe some tricky things which we can discuss further also afterwards. But I think it's very important to invest in the volunteering in whatever way we can. Thank you very much.